Are you tired of having shoes that almost, kinda, sorta fit and messing with insoles and trying to get them adjusted? Well, today we're going to tell you about Scintillate, a company that's using AI to design shoes and 3D printing to make shoes that are exactly and only for your feet. And I know this is true because I got a pair myself and they fit perfectly right out of the box. So we're going to talk to Ben Weis, who's the CEO of Scintillate, and Joe Foster, who's one of the legendary shoe dogs. He's the founder of Reebok, made that company a huge billion-dollar company, also partnered with Jane Fonda to make aerobics a worldwide phenomenon. I'm Peter Horan, I'm host of Trending Forward, and now we're going to tell you about how they're going to revolutionize the shoe business.
We've covered Scintillate on digital trends quite a lot, and it's been really interesting to see. We're covering quite a lot of these new technologies that are coming through, but 3D printed shoes is something I'd never heard about before. So tell us about the first moment you came up with the concept for Scintillate, and how did it take to come to reality?
That's a great question, Gareth. The idea we were thinking about was how do we give content creators their own shoes and also brands that have them back beforehand an original design from scratch. You can take an existing design that's already pre-molded and put a brand logo on it. That's something. But how do you actually give creative expression that's authentic, that's different, that captures the brand in this category, the creator in this category from the beginning? And we took the typical supply chain that's been established and tried and true for 100 something years and said, can we condense it? Can we make it more affordable, more accessible? We met with the number one factory in the world in Vietnam. We talked to all these top designers behind some of the leading brands today. And usually the time frame is 18 months to make a new shoe. It's $2,000 to $4,000 per mold. You want to do molds for size 6 to 13. You have a design expense. It can be tens of thousands of dollars to get something done. And that's an 18-month process and hundreds of thousands of dollars at minimum, probably 7 figures plus for every major brand shoe that's coming out today. So it's expensive and it's long. And we're like, how do we just flip this model on its head and come up with something different? We saw what was possible with ChatGPT, with AI image creation, and how robust it was and how accurate it was. And we're like, why can't we use AI to actually make real shoes and then automate a lot of our design process so we can make it more accessible? And that's what we did. We used some stuff that was more off the shelf, something that was more developed internally, put them together and had AI create the concept artwork for the footwear. Instead of doing all these sketches by hand, it was generative. So we got to an idea much faster that was more accurate, that was already colored, made a sketch based on that was already a pre-done design, had AI create a full 3D model instead of making the model by hand, which can be quite time consuming, and then have AI make all the patterns and textures from a generative model and shade it as well, which would have taken a lot of time. So it was more human oversight instead of just doing all these different stages. And with 3D printing, we're able to remove molds and we can print on demand. So we have the least amount of waste of any footwear brand in the industry today. And we're able to provide shoes that come out from start to finish in 3 months instead of a year and a half. So our risk profile is much less. We took the cost expense down from whatever it was before to, 1/100th essentially. And the time frame from 18 months to 3 months. So now it's like we can back anybody with a shoe and test out avenues that nobody's ever tried before because we don't have the same cost risk. So that was the thinking behind it. And we debuted this with the Explorer slide, the world's first AI designed slide shoe earlier in the year, and worked to get the cost lower by creators.
Wow. And Joe, how did you come on board?
How did I come on board? Well, really, Ben just he just sort of sent us a message. Are you interested? So we said yes, and so we got a Zoom together, and we got interested. Yeah, well, that's good. And really, we're interested because if we go back to Reebok and what we did, we looked for white space when we left the family business, Jeff and myself. We didn't want to compete directly with the family. We thought we must go to one side, so we looked for white space. So we worked with things like orienteering and cross country, things like that. We also went to the rugby league, and that was exciting. That was great. When Reebok got big, and I'm 55, and we're doing 4 billion, and the excitement isn't there. It's good, it's business, but that's at that point, it's for businessmen who just like the idea of the money, and that's right. For me, okay, you could say there's elements of design, but we had a whole design team. We had a lot of accountants. We had a lot of lawyers. We had everything. So I sat back, and when Ben came on, And this sounded exciting. This sounded like a white space. Oh, this is new. This is different. Where can you take that? So this is how I got involved with Ben, and we've been chatting together now for almost 2 years, and it's moved. It's moved forward to AI designing, 3D printing, and scanning your foot to get the size. 3 new areas. What can we do with that, and what will that do to the sports footwear industry and beyond? So that's why I got involved with Ben. Plus, he's got the energy.
Well, I was thinking you must have seen, I mean, going back to, I believe it was J.W. Foster, the family business, around World War II to now, you've seen some amazing changes in the footwear industry, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the whole thing is not only manufacturing techniques, because there's a bit of sort of technology come into traditional footwear. Not a great deal, but more sort of machinery that you can use now instead of hand cutting and things like that. That has moved on. But the biggest change has been retail. When I started with Reebok, in our small town of Bolton, where Reebok started, we had 4 sports shops, just sports stores, um, operated usually by an ex-footballer or cricketer or just an ex-athlete sports person. And now they've gone. Now there are 4 or 5 major global retailers who you deal with. And most of the people like Nike, Adidas, ourselves, we would manufacture a product, put it in our warehouse, and go out and sell it. Now you don't do that. You do deals with all the major retailers. They buy uh, mainly from the factory, and they buy a season, and that's it. You never see the product apart from the samples. So it's totally different. The whole thing has moved on a lot, and continues to move on. Plus, let's face it, sports is now influencing street, and when you see everybody now walking around in some sort of sneaker or sports shoe, as against traditional street shoes. So everything has changed, and the one thing about that is that Reebok, we never had a recession, never. And we look back and think, why did we never have a recession? Because sport, when we started in '58, sport has grown year on year, multiple times. So it's the growth of the industry which really kept us away from any recession, which is, we didn't realize that until later on in life. And we never had a recession. So I think the worst time came with COVID, but I was well out of well out of Reebok by then.
You talk a lot about there about the energy that Ben brings and this chance to kind of almost rekindle something you felt originally. You must have been pitched a lot over the years. Like, what was it about this that made you feel, well, this is something that's going to be a new chapter in like the world of footwear, basically?
It sounded white space. It is white space, and the most important thing about this for me was Ben. He he approached it with enthusiasm. He still does. He gets up at 5 in the morning. It's not good for him, but he gets up at 5 in the morning, uh, uh, and he keeps going, and keeps going, and keeps going, and he'll give you the story. And when somebody can talk the business, people will listen, and he can talk the business, and this is interesting, and this is going to. It's new. It's different. We get pitched a lot. Yes, I mean we have about 4 or 5 different companies. Usually we like the startups because they struggle, and that's great because that takes me back way back to the late '50s when we struggled, and but it makes you understand that you have to work, you have to have discipline, and you have to keep pushing, and you get problems, and you begin to realize those problems are opportunities, and this is where we are with Ben. He gets the problems, but now we've got opportunities, and it's a great opportunity that we have now.
Uh, Ben, how did the 3D printing come about? Was it something you had a background in, or was it something you just realized was an opportunity? Because without that, this doesn't happen, obviously. So, what was the kind of the way that got you there?
So with 3D printing, it's something that's been around for some time, but it's a category that like is just right now at a point where it can become so much more mainstream. Um, It's only recently. I mean, when we developed our Explorer slide, the first AI design slide shoe, it cost us $110 to make it. We were selling it for 150. It wasn't a big profit margin product. That's just in January, February of this year. And the time difference from there to now, I mean, production costs are, half of that just in 8 months or so. Um, so this industry is right now at the point where it can become much more scalable and interesting. And that's something that I was realizing, around that point in time. We have a factory partner we work with, Zellerfeld, that's based in Germany. That has been very supportive of what we're doing and has this custom approach we've been working with them on. Um, that I think actually makes printing like useful. Like this industry for a long time is kind of put out printed shoes. You see every brand checks off a box. Like, hey, we've done our printed shoe here. It's a nice innovation story, but there's two major value adds that we have with printed shoes that are very unique here that actually make it something that consumers want to buy. One is that you can actually get a shoe made one of one to fit you perfectly from your arch height, length, width, Instep info, and much more from an online scan. And then the in-person scan that Peter tried, you can even have your individual toe shapes measured, your heel design. So it's a much more precise experience. That's a first of its kind system that just came out here. That's only been possible recently. So there's that point. Then also design wise, you can make designs that are impossible anywhere else. And this is an area that like you can't do with traditional production. And so we've had this belief for a long time that creators deserve their own shoes. I think the creator footwear market is the biggest market in footwear today, bigger than the athlete market. You ask a young person, who do you want to be like when you grow up? They tell you they want to be like a YouTuber, a TikTok influencer, a Twitch streamer. And all these people, at least a lot of them, have massive merch stores, but they never get an opportunity to expand to this space. So printing made that possible because of the problems I was mentioning we solved earlier. And it's right now at the point where the pricing to make each individual shoe has just gone to the accessibility area.
Yep. So let me jump in and say, as Ben mentioned, I went through the whole process. I went down to the store in Times Square. I had my feet scanned. And interestingly, this is like how easy it was. The fellow I was supposed to meet wasn't there. So with a couple of guys who actually worked at the store, but not specifically for Scintillate, and we sort of figured out how to use the scanner and how to scan my foot. And it worked perfectly. It took about 2 minutes, and then it actually faster than the 4 to 6 weeks you forecast. About 3 weeks later, I got a pair of the Explorer slides, and they truly fit absolutely perfectly. Slipped them on, and it was like, they were made for my foot, which is the point. And so it actually worked the way it was supposed to, which is really nice
Yeah.
and
That's
doesn't always
awesome to
happen.
hear. Yeah, I mean, we're trying to now democratize this access. I mean, the online scanning version is really good, but in person is just incredible. And I think that there's a lot of use cases around people with foot issues. Whether it's hammer toe, bunion, plantar fasciitis, that where we want to conduct a study to really prove out all the benefits. But it should replace the orthotic with a custom-made shoe. I mean, why would you want to buy an orthotic that goes into something that's existing when you can get a custom-made shoe that takes into account all that data? And we know we take in the same amount of data as the orthotic needs, which is really a massive innovation in this category.
Yeah. Um, Something that occurred to me though is that with the 3D printing end of the process, it seems like there are some, I'll say, constraints in terms of what you can actually output. The type of shoe, the materials you use. Can you talk about that a minute? I mean, because you're not going to make, I don't believe, like leather loafers or something. It's gonna be a certain type of shoe.
Yeah, there are constraints. Right now, the primary printing material we're using is TPU, which is the most like widely used printing material, but it's a proprietary development of TPU that has additives to it to make it feel like foam. We're using this TPU, and we're basically able to print out anything with TPU, but we're not printing leather. We're not
Actually,
printing
hang on for a
others.
sec, Ben.
Yeah,
Decode TPU. What is that?
it's a thermoplastic. It's a type of plastic. But what's unique is that because of these additives, it feels not like typical TPU. So if you've printed something before, it feels generally a bit harder. You have variations of TPU in printing, like of different filaments. The material that you print with, it can be a little bit softer, but this is a special type of filament of print material that's been developed that makes it feel like really foam-like. So that's something that's also unique here that we're working with Zellerfeld on to use. They've created, and we've been working to use the printing material. But yeah, this is the primary printing material we're using right now. We're also doing other printing abroad that we print with an SLA type of approach, where it's like this vat of liquid and something that's lasered out of it, but it's not for custom made shoes. we haven't seen, leather or really other types of materials gain like some sort of, mass market adoption right now. I think it could be possible down the line. But this like is a material that works within the existing constraints. But we are going to develop a dress shoe. We're working on it now, that will be with this material, but will have a different type of, more dress oriented design. I don't think the material is what will hold back the category. I think the issue is just actually the amount of printers in existence. Between the different printers we work with today, I mean, we're looking at capacity of not more than 500,000 as maximum capacity. And we need, Joe with Reebok was doing 5 million pairs a month at a point. So, we really want to be able to do millions. So our approach with creators in general is give a creator an opportunity to do their own shoe with this AI design 3D printing. If it goes well, we'll make it with traditional production or something similar, help scale that around the world, and then continuously test out new ideas with this AI design printing approach, which we can do thousands of units, tens of thousands of units, but not millions.
So that's really the point here. This is kind of right now, it's the proving process before and sort of really streamlining that ability to go from concept into actually something that you can wear, like I said, on the mass produced scale. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, we can have like, I mean, just what do you consider mass production? I mean, we can do like a lot of units for lots of people.
Yeah.
But like to become a major brand in this category, we obviously have to do millions of pairs. So I think that printing in general will get there within the next 5 to 10 years, which is why it's great to build right now. But I mean, we can provide an opportunity for hundreds of creators and brands and probably thousands to do their own shoes within a relatively low time frame within the next, I'd say, 2 years or so. And that will open up the market to lots of avenues that no one's ever tested before. And the ones that work that we test because we can, because we're the only ones that are producing shoes for 1/100th of the cost of traditional in a couple of months. We can double down on those with traditional production, establish new markets. I mean, we don't know if YouTubers can sell shoes. We don't know if Twitch streamers can sell shoes. If UFC fighters can sell shoes. If WWE performers can sell shoes. If DJs can sell shoes. I mean, there's so many avenues nobody's ever tried to make a brand new silhouette from scratch in that we can finally try. And if we're right on those, I think some of those categories are going to be bigger, if not just as big as some of the existing ones today.
I can tell you they can sell a lot of stuff because I've got grandsons who keep coming to me with like offer codes from Ryan Trahan and this skateboarder and that skateboarder.
Right.
So why not choose? It's like,
That's the way I see it. Exactly.
And when you
This is
talk
another item.
when you talk about content creators, obviously being able to use this process and do lots of things, and obviously to give you that chance to tap into new markets. I mean, there is a lot of parallel here, Joe, I suppose, with what happened with you and Jane Fonda, where Reebok caught a really big wave at the same time. I mean, do you think that do you see parallels with that right now? And is this something that you're trying to create a wave, or there's a wave that you're jumping on?
I think it's going to be different because, as Ben has explained, this is anything but a fast production method. To get, if you go on a wave, if it did, I mean, Jane Fonda took us from 9 million to 900 million in 4 years. And our biggest problem was, how do you get the production? Well, with 3D printing, that problem's bigger. So really what we're doing is we're creating visibility. We're creating originality. We're creating for people something that's a little different. And I mean, the big guys, Nike, Adidas, all the big guys, they will make a 3D printed shoe, but they can't put it as a big product. It's going to be a little side product, and it's going to be, as with us, print on demand and make on demand. So for the big guys, they're going to look at this and think, yeah, we've got to learn about it. For Ben, we started pushing this envelope. So like we've got a few shoes in. Ben talks about 500,000 a year. We were doing 5 million a month. If you look at Nike, they're doing about 20 million a month now. You can't get that. So we have to look at it from a marketing point of view, something different, give people something different. And then we can build on it. And as we build on it, as the name Scintillate becomes better known and known for what we're doing, we could move more traditional to get the volumes. But we could combine 3D printing with traditional manufacturing. Who knows? We're waiting for that, because with 3D printing, you can make things that you can't do with a mold. With a mold, you've got to open a mold. With 3D printing, it's sand. And so you can do something that it can't be done at all with molding. So this gives us some advantages, somewhere to go, lots of areas to move into. And I mean, if it takes 10 years for 3D printing to become big, I don't think I'll be around, but it's an interesting thought. But I do think with your TPUs, which is a thermoplastic material, you can probably start including fibers. And if you test those fibers out, they may give it the breathability that leather gives and a different flexibility. But you know, this is where it's got to go. We've got to push the printing people into looking at new materials, different materials, and already they can make it either very firm or very flexible. And that's good because, as we can see from my Explorer, it's got a nice soft top and a good firm base. So there are a lot of things. There's so many things that we can look at, and we have 2 or 3 things now that Ben is looking at, and that they're exciting. They're new. It's something different for people. So for me, it's not going to be something. It's not a wave in terms of volume. We have to look at look at it in a different way at this moment. But like I say, it could be we could do a combination and get something different that people love. Right now, it's talking to people like yourself, introducing to some new technologies that we're working on, and let people understand that Scintillate is moving in there, moving differently. But and yeah, we might move on from
Yeah. Hey, Ben, right now, my understanding is you do, I'll say leisure shoes, recovery
Yep.
slides, casual wear. I know that Nike does like, I believe it's a running shoe out of Zellerfeld factory. Do you see moving into performance shoes? Obviously, Joe referenced sort of more, I'll say, more dress casual shoes. Like, where can you go from here? Where do you expect to go from here?
Yeah. So Nike's produced a couple of different shoes with the same factory, with one of our factories we're working with, but they're all also lifestyle casual. They're non-performance
Ah,
oriented.
okay.
Actually, what's unique is that what's also different with theirs is that they are not custom fit. They're all pre-printed to specific sizes. So it's not even a technology they've embraced to this point. You never know what the future holds. Um, but I mean, we want to focus on the lifestyle casual market. Majority of footwear today bought, I think, is for that. And I mean, that's where most creators lie. Like they are all lifestyle personalities. So we really want to prioritize that as the biggest focus. I think also as part of our niche and our white space in general. I mean, if you look at all the top brands today, they're all born and bred in running. Some of them have pivoted towards basketball as a major focus, but they're all athlete performance driven, and the lifestyle market's significant, and there's a lot of innovation that can be done with lifestyle first. I mean, there's a massive trend that's evolved out of athletics, but what if you thought about these categories and developed for lifestyle as a priority? So we're really focusing on that, but we may get into some athletic categories that are just kind of unexplored and not prioritized that could be significant. But our approach is like to test out new areas. We can test out lots of athletic areas by being athletic adjacent with recovery as a category and seeing the kind of demand there is there. Um, and then, if we want to build something further, we can. But it's all about giving new people an opportunity to do something in this space and do it in a way that's authentic to them, which is what we're trying to accomplish.
And where are you growing at the moment? You mentioned obviously you're talking to lots of different people. Is there anyone exciting coming up that you can share?
Yeah, I mean, we have a collaboration we're doing with Dippin' Dots that we're gonna fully bring out fairly soon. That actually is a shoe that's shaped to the real Dippin' Dot sizing, which is 7 by 11 millimeters on the whole upper of it, which I think will be quite wild and show what's possible with printing. And you just can't make something like this anywhere else. We're doing a couple different shoes with different stars of the Bravo Housewives show, in different areas, and we have influencers from TikTok, from Instagram, from various platforms that have always wanted to get into this category and have been sidelined, and now they can. I think it's incredible also to just kind of go through the creative process with some of these people because they've had these like built up like ideas for a long time, and now they're bringing it out, and these people are just as creative online as they are kind of in this category. They have the ideas, they just haven't had a canvas to fully bring them to life. And I think it's going to empower a new generation to feel like they can be great in any category they want. A lot of the marketing today of these athletic brands has been like, be like Mike, wear his shoes, play like him. If you want to play like him, you got to wear the shoes, you got to buy the shoes. But what about greatness in other avenues? If you want to be like your favorite Twitch streamer, how do you feel like you can? We want to put you in their shoes. and get you one step closer to your goals. So that concept of greatness is something we're trying to really democratize and make accessible to a younger generation that wants to be like these people. And that's our big focus here.
I mean, if you're not going to use the phrase put you in their shoes, you should be, because that's just genius.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, do you have flexibility on the colorways? You mentioned dipping dots. I think of that as being kind of pastels, and I don't remember seeing pastels on the available colors.
So the colors are changing a lot actually. We're gonna soon have yellow, like a lilac, and then a gray that will be in the fold, and also we'll have the ability to do multiple colors together early next year. I mean, the goal of this is to be able to do more than just two colors. I mean, we'd love to be able to compete color wise, with what traditional production is doing. But it's one step at a time for this space in this industry. Um, but yeah, I mean, we do need to have more color options. We're going to start with kind of what we can do that's aligned with their brand, and then kind of work from there. But um, yeah, I think with more time we'll have a lot more variety for sure.
One of the things that where you've been talking is obviously Peter's tried the shoes, gone through the process, and we've seen lots of coverage around this. I think the thing that a lot of people won't realize is that this is not just a sort of stepping stone to where that shoes going to be created. I think a lot of people would read 3D printed shoes and think, oh, these people are trying to change how we, make shoes for the rest of the future, and this is where it's going to be. But actually, it sounds like this is far more about what AI is really doing, which is allowing people to be creative where they didn't have the space before. And this is more a proving ground than it is, okay, you're never going to buy, in 20 years' time, there's going to be no shoes on the market. They're going to be all custom fitted from 3D printing. It's actually just more about creative space, right?
I think it's a mix of both. I would say it's very similar to what you see in the EV industry. Like you still have traditionally produced cars today. We'll see what happens with them down the line, but the experience of getting in an EV is truly incredible. Some of them, and you feel like the car understands you. It's much smarter. I think our goal at Scintillate in general is to build smart footwear as we progress. I think it needs to become a technology category. It's a category that has not become smart when every other category has. I mean, look at the watch, and that's really impacted a lot of people's lives with the kind of health data you have there. So we would like to get to that point. Um, I think the custom fit is a great way to begin to show people what smart footwear can be like, because the experience is really incredible and unrivaled. And it makes you actually want to buy a 3D print shoe and have a clear value add for them. There hasn't been a clear value add for a long time in this industry. It's been very confusing. It hasn't really made any sense to people. And it's just been a marketing, buzzworthy story. And now that there's something real, something tangible, and it's about visibility at this point. That's why we've just done this deal with Warshawski, the marketing company, because we want to increase the visibility and make people aware of it. Like you can actually have an experience that's tailor made to your feet. When people come into our store and experience in Times Square that Peter went into, I mean, they find out their left foot's bigger than their right for the first time in their lives, some of these people, or that their right's wider than their left. And, what do you do with that data? Well, you could say, hey, I'll buy a shoe that's like one size smaller. But if you get a shoe that's really custom made to your individual feet, what is that experience like? I mean, that's like the electric vehicle experience. It's something that's just knows you and understands you. It's the next generation of this category. And we think that's really important to give people, because lots of people are going around with shoes that never fit them their whole lives.
Mm. Peter, you obviously have been trying these shoes. Like, tell us more about how it
Yes.
feels to actually wear them.
Yeah. And this was in one of the articles that I wrote about Scintillate. Um, I've gone through this process of trying to get shoes that fit right. I bought off the shelf, super feet insoles. I've actually had custom orthotics made twice where you go and they mold your foot. I've got concrete molds of my feet sitting in the cupboard. And then from that they make custom orthotics. And that process also took many weeks and was probably $500 start to finish. Um, and it worked pretty well. But it's getting closer and closer to an approximation of what Ben calls the one of one, something that's actually made for my foot. And I was, like with so many things, I was a little bit skeptical going in. I was like, okay, yeah, that's the promise. That's all marketing hype. Is it really going to happen? And I was frankly shocked when I took them out of the box and put it on my foot, and it really fit like a glove. It was, right out of the box, no messing around. It fit really, really well. Um, and so that was actually just striking. Is just and interestingly, uh, the front end of the process, the Volumental scanner or whatever it is, I'd actually used
Yeah.
once before for a different pair of insoles, uh, and so I was familiar with that process. And this was, I think, all in all, kind of one of the most successful efforts to get shoes that fit right that I've been through.
It's great to hear. Yeah, I mean, we're trying to give this experience to more people, and like we waited for a long time to do a sneaker. Actually, we only had a slide till it was below $200 that we could sell it for, because it needs to be accessible. And you mentioned the price of custom orthotics. It's been a category that's unattainable to many, and now this is the solution that that makes it something that will improve your life, and it's not even close to that kind of cost. And I think it's now really ready to scale. And this in person experience is the key to that. I mean, online is important too, but in person, like getting it fit, it goes into a cloud profile. Any type of shoe you ever want to buy from us in the future, it's automatically applied to that as long as you use the same email. So there's a convenience factor there. But the volume scanner has been very well tested. There's 40 million scans that have been done on it already. It's been used in popular sporting goods retailers around the world, but it's never been fully used to its max capacity. It has the ability to do more than just tell you what type of shoe size you should get. It has the ability to make a full 3D model of your feet, and then to get that translated over and custom made into a printed shoe. And that's what we're trying to do, is like unlock the next generation of this category. And they've been very supportive of us too.
Yep. Um, Something that occurred to me as we were speaking, you've got sort of one push, which is to work with the Twitch streamers and the YouTubers and whatever, and in a sense, put them and their brand forward. And then
Hmm.
there's what, based on our other conversations, I think is your core proposition, which is get your shoes that really fit one of one. And how do you sort of keep those two thoughts in sync rather than, it's all about, Ryan Trahan or some other skater, uh,
Yeah.
and, just stick it on your foot.
It's a great question. I think it just comes down to marketing and like being very clear which shoes are. I mean, all the shoes can apply for both, but we have to be very clear as to like which ones and which direction we're marketing individual products in. Um, and that's something that I think we're still figuring out as we go with this. But like, because like custom fit is a piece of all that we're doing right now. But that's why I think that this study that we're going to do, where we're going to have a proper study that breaks down for our sneaker and our slide that are just Scintillate branded versions, and explains how much it can help you with plantar fasciitis and bunions and hammer toes, and just how much it improves your experience in general, regardless of those issues. Having that concrete data to show that will also enable us to build out just a better marketing funnel for that specific avenue. But I think both pieces are important to us. Um, there's two pieces of custom fit in general. There's one just improving the experience for the average person, and there's also people with feet issues. The one of improving experience for the average person is easier to market in general right now, because it requires less, backing and scientific data behind it. So that's kind of been more of a focus, but we are shifting towards the other avenue as well, because I think it's a very large opportunity, and we have it already being reviewed by a podiatrist and a chiropractor and getting their feedback. And I think we'll work to expand within those networks as we go.
You mentioned just now about the idea of smart shoes. I completely agree. I've been testing like running shoes, fitness shoes for over 15 years, and there's always been like small waves of, I think Adidas had like motors in the shoes and that disappeared. Then Nike had sensors that you could put in, because then you could do hit workouts and it could work out where you're landing. And they were great, genuinely really good. And then they just disappeared. People just weren't interested. We've had, Nike Plus and things like that. But you mentioned about the idea of smart shoes, and I completely agree. There is an undervalued area of data, because it's our rubber on the ground, right? It's the chance to interact with the world most of the time.
Yeah.
Do you think that the future for the company is smart technology as well in there, not just 3D printing, but actual sensors, and be able to give more data that way?
Yeah. And the question is if it will be printed or not. But that's the future of the company in general. I mean, I think smart footwear, could be the biggest thing in footwear in general. I mean, we've seen the kind of dent that the Apple Watch has had in the watch industry. I mean, it's completely changed the way traditional watch companies have to operate. They've had their own, versions of it. But like there's lots of great concepts from the Apple Watch that you could apply to footwear. I mean, the idea of like one screen with infinite design capabilities is really cool.
Yeah.
You can have lots of customization like that, self-expression, and there's a lot you can do there. But I think also just data, like everybody seems to be interested in knowing more about themselves. I mean, the Whoop is such a successful product, and there's so much data you get from that. And I talk to people that have them, and it's like it can just improve your life tremendously, especially the way you sleep. As well. And it's like, why is this category that's such an important category for our lives just been never made smart when everything else is getting smart? And I think we've gotten to a point where like battery technology is now light enough that you can really do something exciting in footwear with batteries that wouldn't weigh you down too much. And I think that's fairly recent. So it's something we're really actively looking into.
And the idea in the footwear with batteries, you've got so much energy running through the actual foot that there's also the concept of being able to power them naturally as well without having to
Yeah.
constantly charge as well. So I think it's an incredibly exciting space. Do you
Yeah.
think that would you ever consider partnerships with people to try? Because the thing that bothers me the most is, like I said, I've tested this, and I think the story I always tell was the worst moment was when I was having to wait for half an hour because I had to charge my smart socks because I couldn't go out and do a test. And I was like, this is ridiculous that I'm stuck in this space. And it was fine for that element, but all they did was they told you what they could tell you. Like that's all it was. They told you what where you're putting your foot, and that was the end of it. Nothing could access the data. Nothing could, give you idea of like you said. If I had a Whoop on, it was telling me I've slept badly, and that the socks or whatever, or the shoes have noticed that I'm walking differently. That's interesting. That's useful. That's something that only an expert standing alongside me, monitoring me all day could tell me, and that is a tangible thing. I think people definitely over analyze their data potentially. Like sleep tracking is great, but eventually you go, yep, slept badly, fine, move on. But this is the kind of thing where there are insights you just can't get. So do you think that's kind of the future, that you either do more things or you partner up with someone else?
I think we're gonna do it ourselves,
Great.
and lean towards that. But like building on what you said, Gareth, there's a lot you can do with like, making people stand better, correcting posture, which will just lead to more confidence and less back pain. I mean, I think it could be like the holy grail of opportunity in technology and fashion merging, because like the feet, I mean, just like your foundation's so core to everything, and if you optimize that, I mean, the Whoop gives you a lot of insights into things that you're already doing, but you can actually have like an active influence on that, with footwear specifically. And I hope it will lead to smart clothing as well at some point, which I think is harder to do actually than footwear
Yeah,
just because of the washability aspect.
completely agree.
All right, so we've been chatting for about 40 minutes. I think it's about time to kind of go around the horn and sort of ask for sort of last thoughts, last questions. Um, Joe, why don't you start? What as you look at all this, what do you what's your summary thought?
Well, I think what is happening now, and what Ben is doing, and what gives us an opportunity, is that we're not looking at volume. We're looking at technology. We're looking at improving people's lives. We're looking at a story, and I think if we can get that story really working, as I said, we do work with other people and we understand sensors. And I could well introduce Ben to one of our people, and as you say, you don't need batteries. So there are a lot of ways in which we can include the technologies, new ideas, and this is what's so exciting. As I said, when Reebok got to 4 billion, it was just a corporate entity, and it was how many more shoes can we make? The excitement wasn't there. This is exciting. You get things wrong, great, because you learn a lesson, and you learn that is an opportunity. And that's what we did with Reebok. We learned that so many things we did wrong were an opportunity to get it right next time and to change. And it worked. We also got a lot of luck. Let's face it. Luck does do an
Take it,
awful lot in this.
take it.
Yeah, it does. But one of the lucky things is that, as I said earlier, we realized that we never had a recession. And we realized that the luck was we chose the right industry to be in, one that would grow. And I think the digital industry is a very similar industry. It's growing and it's changing and it's moving along. And I think AI, yes, we can use it an awful lot. We can use it to our advantage. And I think the good thing about this is we don't know exactly where this is going. We just keep, as we did with Reebok, we were willing to take chances in different directions. I remember when our guy in California, Arnold Martinez, he sort of dropped in onto aerobics. His wife was doing it, Frankie was doing it, and he didn't know what it was. Nobody did. So he went down, saw what was going on. He's in California. The production people are up in Boston. And overnight he went to see Paul Fireman. And Paul Fireman said, "Arnold, why do we want to make dancing shoes for girls? We're a running company." And of course, Arnold was very upset at that, because all that Paul wanted to do was just look after it. But he went round to the back door. He saw Steve Liggett, who was our production guy, and he did a better job persuading him. And he got 200 pairs of samples, and the rest is history. But this is it. Who knows what is going to come next? And we just got to keep pushing that envelope, and that's the excitement I see in Scintillate.
Perfect. Ben, last words, last thoughts?
Yeah, I think what we're doing here is trying to provide an opportunity to a lot of people to build in this category. There's been lots of amazing innovations in other categories that have made certain spaces accessible. Like, for example, print on demand with books. There are a lot more authors today that if you couldn't have made the minimums that were required to make their own book, that now with print on demand they can. They can self-publish. I think that footwear has never experienced something like this before, and now it's an opportunity to do that. And this is phase one, but there's so many personalities, so many brands, and people that really deserve a chance. And now we can create and invent them in this space, which we're really excited about. That's kind of the phase one, and then just making this category smart. I think it's all about how do we take footwear and improve people's lives. I mean, it's a category that's had similar production methods for 100 years, and the world's evolving, a lot's changing. And I think that this is a space that we can really do a lot of good in the world with, if we really focus and build stuff that's exciting and incorporates the leading technologies, and moves it out of just, athletic, that's technology enabled into a technology category. Like, we want to be the first footwear technology company. Like, we view ourselves as a technology company, and that's core of all that we do. So this is a phase one, and we're going from here, and we're going strong.
Gareth?
I mean, I really enjoyed talking here because I went in with one perception about, this was going to be learning about how you're going to scale and produce, and obviously that's a really key part of it. But understanding, for me as just a technology fan, the idea of somebody's thinking of new ways to make this happen and to create this ability for the quantified self. It sounds like you've got two tracks, which is really interesting, of this kind of, ability to help out the creators, to realize something in the same way that, self-printing books happens. But also this idea of, like, if you take away the constraints, what can happen? And the first thing you do is, like, let's figure out how we can become more technology driven. Brilliant. That's that fires up in me a lot. So well done for thinking along those lines. And I'm really excited to see what happens.
Yeah. And I'll wrap it. As Gareth said, a lot of fun, a lot of good information. I'm that sort of generation that, I started out running in sneakers from the grocery store, the department store. And I remember when the first guys the Nike reps or the Tiger reps would roll up in station wagons with shoes in the back of the car and say, "Here, you got to take a look at it's." And everybody wants to know kind of how the movie ends before they buy the ticket. But at that moment, there was no way to tell sort of where the whole shoe industry was gone, much less aerobics, much less, people wearing running shoes to work. Um, and the exciting thing is, it's the early days, and just it's fun to be along for the ride, which is kind of the whole story of technology and a lot of other stuff. So thank you very much for the time, gentlemen. It's been a lot of fun, and best of luck going forward.